The World Court now ordering Israel to halt its military operations in Rafah. The ruling by the International Court of Justice does come after South Africa filed a complaint saying Israel is committing genocide amid its war in Gaza. Regardless of the ruling, Israel has said from the beginning that it will not comply and the war will continue. Do want to talk about all of the latest developments here, so let's bring in Dan Arbell, a scholar in residence at the Center for Israel Studies at American University and a 25-year veteran of the Israeli Foreign Service. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to talk about this ruling here from the World Court, because essentially Israel has said from the beginning that regardless of what the ruling is, everything will kind of continue as normal. Is that what we expect will happen? And does Israel really care, so to speak, about this ruling?
So Israel basically is continuing the operation in Rafah, despite this ruling by the court in The Hague. Israel, however, needs to study exactly the details, the nuances of this resolution, and see how it really impacts its operation, because there are legal aspects to it, and in some of the part of the ruling, it does say that if Israel takes precautions to safeguard civilians in a proper way, then it basically could continue. Also, in general, though, I agree with you that Israel will continue despite this ruling. This goes next week to the Security Council at the UN for a vote. There may be likely a U.S. veto on this whole resolution, which again will allow Israel to continue. But again, it has many moving parts to it, and at this point, I don't see it directly impacting the way Israel's conducting its fight inside Rafah.
We know that the director of the CIA and the Mossad, they're going to be meeting to talk a little bit more about this hostage release ceasefire deal that has been kind of going back and forth. We've seen talks that have progressed, so to speak, and then at some points gone back to square one. What is it going to take for a deal to be reached between Israel and Hamas to not only free the rest of the hostages, but also lead to essentially a temporary ceasefire?
We learned this morning of 3 more hostages that their bodies were recovered from Gaza. That brings the number now down to 125 hostages, still dead and alive, that are being held by Hamas since October 7th. This is a human tragedy, and this is something that needs to be resolved in an immediate way. And, the parts of that deal have been discussed so many times. It will require political will on both sides, because the contours of the deal are clear. It's a ceasefire, temporary ceasefire by Israel, and then a hostage return by Hamas. And so this has been the story all along. The question is also the devil's in the details, because Hamas's demands are very unrealistic. But Hamas has all the patience to wait it out. They don't mind this not happening right away. There's no urgency on their part, while the Israeli public is certainly, and media and public opinion is pressuring the Israeli government to make concessions. So we'll all come down to whether this Israeli war cabinet will make a decision to approve a deal despite some uncomfortable elements that will be part of it.
And you are taking a look at the photos that were provided by the IDF of those 3 hostages whose bodies were recovered there from Gaza overnight. Now, the IDF does say that last week, the bodies of several hostages that were taken captive on October 7th were actually found in a tunnel that was underneath a home there in Gaza. So my question for you, do these discoveries kind of create more concern over the health, the conditions of the remaining hostages?
They certainly do. And I mean, there's concern all along, and they just go as days go by, and we're on day 230 of this war, almost 8 months in. Then the more time goes by, the greater the concern is. And of course, the fact that all these bodies are being recovered also doesn't contribute to a sense of a good feeling about the fate of the rest of them. Still, we did see footage and clips that point to the fact that there are quite a few hostages that are alive, still held by Hamas under terrible conditions, probably underground tunnels, not sure about their level of food that they're receiving. They can breathe even properly. And therefore, this is certainly something that needs to be dealt with immediately and not waited out for more days and weeks to come.
Israeli War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz demanding the immediate creation, so to speak, of a state commission of inquiry into the failures that did lead to that Hamas attack on Israel back on October 7th. But it does seem, just from the conversation that's been had, that Netanyahu doesn't want that to happen now. Why might there be a reason there that Netanyahu wants to wait?
Netanyahu wants this to happen at the end of the war. The end of the war is far away. That ensures him the fact that there is not a commission established and deliberating over this, allows him more flexibility and more time to remain in power. He fears that once an investigation formal begins, then his time will be running out, and therefore he's doing all in his power to delay this under the argument that this would hurt or undermine the war effort. I think it's mostly motivated by his political survival considerations rather than actually the need to thoroughly address what went wrong on October 7th, both at the political level and at the military level.
We focus a lot on the situation between Israel and Hamas, but it also is important to talk about Israel and Hezbollah up to the north. Does it seem like that situation is heating up, so to speak? We see these attacks pretty much on, I would say, a daily basis.
They are on a daily basis, and it is another concern for Israel. The U.S. and France and other actors have been trying to reach some sort of diplomatic solution to de-escalate tensions there. That hasn't worked, and there's increasing calls inside Israel that after Gaza is over, the Gaza war is over, Israel should focus on the northern front and launch a war and operation on Hezbollah. That may happen. We're not there yet. And this tit for tat that's happening on a daily basis and not allowing the Israelis, tens of thousands of Israelis displaced in the north to return to their homes is something that cannot continue for much longer, because it's a very awkward and tense situation which needs to be resolved.
Dan, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. Anything else you want to add about any of this before I let you go?
The fate of the hostages, that's the number one issue. That's the issue that everybody should be focusing on, to bring to the home the 125 remaining hostages held by Hamas, and every effort should be made, and a deal should be reached as soon as possible to make that happen. So I appreciate, Josh. Thank you. Have a good day.
Of course, you too. And I do want to take you back out to this image showing the Israel-Gaza border. It's a shot that you've probably seen quite a bit here on Live Now from Fox over the last more than 7 months here. Again, a lot of developments today as the World Court has now ordered Israel to halt the military operations in Rafah. And the ruling by the International Court of Justice does come after South Africa filed a complaint saying Israel is committing genocide amid its war in Gaza. Regardless of that ruling, Israel's leadership has said since the start that it will not comply and the war is going to continue. In the meantime, the chief prosecutor for the other United Nations court, the International Criminal Court, did announce that he was requesting arrest warrants against top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, as well as Hamas officials, including Yahya Sinwar.